So we're only a few months away from the release of the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, and people are starting to get really hyped about these new consoles. One thing in particular that we've heard a lot about are the PlayStation 5 and Series X utilizing SSD instead of a regular hard drive, which means that games will run faster, the loading times will be so much shorter with an SSD, and a lot of people seem really excited about this, but I guess I'm in the minority because I don't think that this is good. Okay, so yeah, faster loading times on paper sounds great, but if you look at the actual storage of the PS5, you only get 825 gigabytes on the SSD because it's a lot more expensive to have an SSD than a traditional hard drive, so in order to keep costs down, Sony has to give you less storage. And it's the same thing with the Series X, you only get 1 terabyte, which is a good size larger than the PS5 storage, but still not even close to being enough in the year 2020. I mean, games are only going to get bigger with this new technology, and they're already way too big, and with only 1 terabyte of storage, you're going to run out of storage very fast. You'll be lucky if you can even have 5 games installed onto your PS5. Even right now in the current gen, storage has kind of been a problem. I mean, 500 gigabytes was not really enough, but I think this is even worse. Having 825 gigabytes in the next gen, that's not even close to being enough storage. That's just way too small. When the PS4 and Xbox One launched in 2013, they came with 500 gigabytes of storage, which really wasn't enough. I mean, so many people, including myself, had a very hard time with storage. I mean, there's so many times where I wanted to get a new game, but I had to install other games, even though I was still playing them, but I had to get rid of them in order to make space. So eventually I got the 2 terabyte hard drive, and even now I'm starting to run out of space. It's just because these games are only going to get bigger over time. I mean, Modern Warfare has a 30 gigabyte update that they released a couple days ago, and it's just ridiculous. There's so many people who struggle to make the space for all their favorite games, and that's even with a 2 terabyte hard drive, so not even having 2 terabytes on the next gen consoles, I mean, that just sounds like a fucking nightmare. I can't imagine only having 1 terabyte of storage. All for what? Faster loading screens? Really? I mean, don't get me wrong, the PS4 was slow as hell, and it's really annoying that it took like 5 minutes just to load up your trophies. So yeah, the SSD would definitely make the console run a lot faster, but I mean, I think you could have a compromise between those two things, between having a lot of storage in your console and being able to run all these games, but also when it comes to the user interface and the operating system, have a little SSD in there, like not a big one, maybe like 100 gigabytes or however much you need for the operating system for the console, and then the rest is just hard drive, a regular hard drive that's like 4 terabytes, because a 1 terabyte SSD will run you about $100, while a 4 terabyte hard drive will cost about the same. And me personally, if I only had $100, I would easily choose the 4 terabyte hard drive than the 1 terabyte SSD, because don't get me wrong, faster loading times are great, it's more convenient, but it's not really efficient. Especially with how massive these games are and how they're constantly updating, it just takes so much space that it's not even feasible to only have a terabyte of storage in the year 2020. And the PS5 has even less at 825 gigabytes, which is just crazy to think. I remember growing up, this was never a problem. You just needed an 8 megabyte PS2 memory card, and you didn't even have to think about storage. It was a much simpler time back then, and it's funny, you think, oh yeah, technology is getting more advanced, everything's getting better, but it feels like we're kind of taking a step back technologically, where we always have to worry about storage and making sure we have enough space. Like, that wasn't even an issue 15, 20 years ago. But these days, it's not like your Blu-ray disc even has close to enough storage in the actual disc to just install your full game. No, even if you buy physical copies, you have to install most of the game into your hard drive, so it's almost inescapable. So yeah, it could be really annoying to sit through long loading screens, especially PUBG. I mean, it takes me like 2 minutes just to get the game started. I understand that it can be really frustrating to sit through a loading screen, but me personally, I find it far more frustrating when I want to have all these games installed on my hard drive, but I have to pick and choose which ones I have installed at any given time because I don't have enough storage for all the games that I want to play. And if I want to play them, I uninstall the other one, then I have to reinstall. I mean, that's very time consuming. I mean, yeah, if you have really good internet, maybe it's not as big of a deal, but I have decent internet, but to install a full game like PUBG or GTA or whatever, it'll take me at least a few hours, and that's a few hours I can spend playing the actual game, but I can't because I have to reinstall it because before I didn't have enough space, and now I do have enough space because I deleted the game, but I do actually want to play that game, and it's just such a mess, and I hate it. And I'd much rather have enough storage for all those games so I can avoid that problem and have slower loading times than having faster loading times and not enough storage. Not to mention that if you do want to expand your storage on the PS5, it's going to be a lot harder to do so than on the PS4 where you just plug in a USB thing and it is what it is. But with this proprietary thing that they got going on, it's going to be a lot harder to actually replace or add to your storage. But regardless, I don't think you should have to even do that. I think you should have enough storage straight from the box instead of having to buy even more storage. Which is why I've been avoiding buying a Nintendo Switch because, oh, $299, that's a decent price for what they're offering, but you also have to buy a memory card, which depending on how much storage you want can range you anywhere from $50 to $100, maybe even more. If you want like a terabyte, forget it, because those tiny cards cost a lot of money. And even though they have been coming down in cost in recent years, I just don't like hidden costs when I buy something, because never mind that, but you also have the controller, which costs $60 because the actual controller, the Joy-Cons, are terrible, and I need the Pro controller. So that's another $60. Like, it's just, I hate hidden costs. When I got the PS Vita at launch, I had to get that proprietary memory card, and that was an extra $50, and not even have enough storage. I had to uninstall a whole bunch of games, and it's just so frustrating. And I just don't understand why so many people are happy about this. They like what Sony and Microsoft are doing. I just don't get it. Maybe I'm missing something, but I'd rather have a lot more storage and sit through longer loading screens than having not enough space to play all the games that I love. To me, it's just a no-brainer. But apparently, I'm in the minority here. Most people disagree with me. But whatever, I'm gonna stick with my hard drive. I'm gonna get a nice 4TB hard drive for my PC because it makes little sense to me to pay the same price for a fraction of the storage. So I hope you guys on console enjoy your faster loading times because I'll really be enjoying my 4TB hard drive that allows me to play a lot more games than you ever could.